Turns red. If you're catching us on the replay, this is just a simple 20-second lead-in as we wait for some ads to play for those who are catching us live on Thursday night at 7 p.m. in the Central Time Zone on a Thursday. It's time for the CarrGuy and SixFan show. Welcome, everybody. I am your host tonight. I am straight SixFan here on YouTube. That makes me SixFan of this operation, which means the bearded fellow over here
is Jason, and I am the car guy of the CarrGuy and SixFan show, otherwise known as Old Car Guy on YouTube. And we're pretty excited tonight to have our guest who is joining us. And, we share a lot in common, and that is weird cars. And I'm going to go ahead and let Robert introduce himself. So, Robert, go ahead and tell the folks who you are and what your channel is all about.
I am Robert Dunn of Aging Wheels on YouTube. I have a collection of oddball cars, including, but not limited to, a Reliant Robin and a Trabant and a Wego and 3 Codas and a Wego and some other stuff you never heard of. By some other stuff, that was the end of the list. So it's not, it is limited to those things that I just mentioned.
Well, and that's one of the things that we've come to know about your channel is that sense of humor you just put on display. Before we get into our line of questioning, before we get to know who Robert Dunn is in a little more detail, Jason, why don't you jump over, let us know who's joining us in the chat tonight, and we'll get started with the interview.
Well, it's a slow night tonight, and I didn't expect to be much different because we are approaching the long weekend of Easter. But Ryan from Everything's Broken Garage is there, Turlo's Garage, Biff's Garage, and we've got a few others trickling in as things go on. We'll introduce a few of those guys as they pop in. I want to jump right in, Robert, and basically ask you one of the same things that we ask a lot of our guests, and that is, what got you into cars?
The simple answer is Top Gear. Back in college, I needed something to watch that wasn't on TV, and I started watching a lot of Top Gear. I watched it from the beginning to the present at the time, because it was still in the air when I was in college. And that's pretty much it. And then I ran out of Top Gear episodes to watch, so I went to YouTube and started watching there, and that's what got me into cars in a nutshell, is Top Gear. And of course it evolved from that, but that's what started it.
So do you feel like that style of show, that kind of just the content is maybe where you draw from when it came time to create Aging Wheels, the YouTube channel, where do you find that you draw your inspiration from?
Well, initially I drew it from other YouTubers that I was watching, which were just pretty standard car reviews. An example is Chris Harris. And I tried to do that. Well, the very first video that I made sort of drew inspiration from Top Gear, but beyond that, then I just started doing standard car reviews. Wasn't very good at it. I didn't even like the stuff that I was making, so I eventually evolved from that. But yeah, initially it was just other car reviewers.
Well, and I think I don't think that's the first time we've ever heard that Top Gear was kind of people's inspiration for getting into cars. Mm-hmm. I joined the kind of the car realm as a hereditary aspect. My dad was a car guy. His dad was a car guy, and it was just kind of born into me. I've got a 22-year-old son. He's a car guy, and he kind of follows right in my footsteps too. But was there any other car guy type people in your family that helped you inspire to bring on your obsession, I guess, with these cars?
So it's interesting you bring that up. My dad is also a car guy. He's interested in all the old Americana stuff. He's a boomer. He's interested in all the nostalgia fodder. But yeah, I mean, I was exposed to that my whole life, but I was never really into it. Even now, I'm not much into American cars in the slightest. I don't know. You mentioned some of the cars you have, and I don't know most of them. I only know one of them as a cop car in a movie. It's never really piqued my interest. I think it was being exposed to not just all of the different variety of cars that were in Top Gear, but also there's comments appearing on the screen that caught me off guard. Also the humor and the being interesting to non-car guys that got me into it. So I think I just needed something that wasn't my dad or my dad's interest to bring me into the realm and for me to find out what I'm interested in, because it's not American cars, and that's what he's big into.
So not only did you say I'm just gonna do something different than Dad, you went about as polar opposite as you possibly could. I mean, I think if they manufactured if Iceland manufactured a car, you probably would have it, Robert. So what drew you exactly to, Jason and I, we were talking backstage. I like to use the term odd body, offbeat, hot rodding, all these things. But you take it to the next level. It's definitely things I haven't even heard of. 3 or 4 of your cars. So why the foreign markets? What drew you exactly to the cars that you've landed up?
I don't really know. I think it's mostly just being different. When you go to any local yokel car show, it's the same 5 cars. You got a Chevelle, you got Mustangs, you got the normal affair. I like not being part of that. Those things don't really I don't really have any interest in them. I do have interest in these things that you don't see every day. If they never sold it in the United States, if they only sold it in the United States briefly, or if no one's ever heard of it, then I'm really interested in it, mostly just because it's different. And in the case of like the Trabant, it's very different. I like explaining to people that it's made out of cotton. The body panels are made out of cotton, and just watching the reaction.
I feel like that you should create like an advertising campaign exactly built off of that. Trabant, it's very different. Like
They didn't do much advertising because communism, but they did make advertisements for it. They were just bizarre.
Well, it's funny because when you say that, it's different. It's almost like you can almost picture a famous actor leaning up against it saying, "It's different." Before we jump into the next question, I do want to jump over to the chat one more time because we have loaded up with a few people in the chat. Jason Rock, Gary Mathis, King Eric, the greatest of all, has jumped in there as well. Dan, Greasy Boy Customs, Big Al is in the house. We've got Paul Meyer. Thanks, Paul, for jumping in here from the Get Out and Drive podcast. And we've also got Biff's Garage and Streetcar Culture, a previous guest from Down Under. Over in Australia. Thank you for jumping in there. I guess one of the big questions that a lot of people have when they're kind of browsing through YouTube and stumbling upon different channels. One of the things that brought me to your channel was a couple of years ago. I was I don't want to say I was even interested in, but I was just checking out a lot of schooly type things. So bus conversions, this and that. And of course, you had just bought the school bus. And you were doing some pretty hefty customization on that thing, stripping the panels off, lifting the roof. And one of the things that I noticed in that video was not even related to vehicles. It was your editing technique of I don't know what you were doing, drilling out rivets or putting rivets in or something like that. But it was like every single one was a quick, 10 millisecond clip of you doing that 100 times over. And I'm thinking, I do this. I edit. I know what it takes to get that split second clip to do that. And you just did it 400 times. Like, what goes on in your brain when you figure I have to do that 400 times? It's effective, by the way. It keeps me watching. But what entices you to do that, or what tricks do you use to help engage the audience to keep watching?
Well, the reason I do it is exactly what you said. I feel like it keeps people interested. I didn't want to do the standard either sped up, just having the audio as it was but sped up, or having some sort of montage with music over top of it. When I see that in videos, I mean, there are exceptions obviously, but when I see that in videos, I tune out. I didn't want people tuning out for the actual work that's being done in the video. I wanted to figure out a way to make the actual work being done interesting and make that part of the video, because that's a big part of the work. Want it to be a big part of the video as well. As far as actually editing that, the first time I did that was in that bus video, and it was an ordeal to do that because I did it manually. And then for the second part of the bus video, I did it again manually. And for the third part, I thought, this is not sustainable in the slightest. I have to figure out a way to do this. So what I was doing when I did it manually was just isolating the waveforms. If there was a little uptick that showed something being done, then I would blade around that. I use Final Cut Pro, so I'm using these terms. I blade around that and I drag it to a specific length. Well, after that, I figured out I got this program called Keyboard Maestro. It's for Mac. It's just similar to Windows Hotkey. I think that's what it was called. Anyway, I made a hotkey that does a blade, skips forwards a certain amount of frames, and then blades again, and then I can just cut everything around it. So now I've got it down to a keyboard shortcut. Much easier than the way I was doing it before.
We'll stick on the topic of editing, and I know. So I honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I just started watching your channel today in preparation for tonight, but I know exactly the scene Jason's talking about. I happened to watch that one, and but another editing technique I've noticed you use from time to time is, because again, it's easy to sit in front. I struggle with this all the time. Sit in front of the camera and just talk, and it's like, well, people, you have a video camera. It's a tool. Go actually show them, and so to help kind of like with that transitioning, where there might be a scene, but you actually show up in it like 3 times. And I was like, huh, that works extremely well. He's popping out of the trunk. Now he's walking off the camera, and all the opening the door. Like, so I guess what made you think, yeah, I'm gonna do the multi me move?
I think that started out as I needed to show something else being done on camera, but I use that a lot of times as a crutch because I can't remember long lines. I remember in a couple of the smart car videos, I needed to memorize like 2 paragraphs, and there was no way that was happening. So instead, I just said a sentence at a time, but had myself walking on and off the screen, so I didn't have to memorize all that much.
Well, I may have to lean on you a little bit to learn how to do that, because I have an alter ego on my channel that makes an appearance occasionally. It would be nice to have me interacting with that alter ego to be able to do that.
Oh, that's so hard to do. I try to keep that to a minimum because then you got to space out the dialogue with no one else there. In movies, they do that, but they have like a stand-in, someone to deliver the lines when you're talking to yourself. I don't have that.
Yeah. And I don't either. I mean, I'm a one-man show when it comes to editing. So when I'm doing the work, most of the time it's just me, and I've got no one to throw jokes off of, to catch my humor when I try miserably to make it happen. But one of the things we talked about before we went live was that your passive aggressiveness, your sarcasm really comes out on camera as humor. And I think that sometimes is a great way to learn just exactly how somebody is off camera. If it comes naturally, and it seems to come naturally with you, is that how you see yourself, as somebody who's passive aggressive or slightly sarcastic to try and get a little bit of a poke on somebody?
Yeah, a lot of the words escaping me. Self-demeaning, that's not the word. Self-deprecating.
That's a little harsh. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't take anything too seriously, so I try to make that come across on camera.
Yeah,
hopefully the commenters will be nicer on me.
Yeah, I can already think of, like, I mean, again, today's my introduction, and I'm deep in it, but there were like 3 one-liners. That one was like, you were doing like a cars on the lift, kind of like reviewing the underside of cars, like, and the oil pan came covered in oil, and now it's covered in oil and dirt. Why not? In the rivet scene, you were like, so I just decided it was time to do my work second time over, or something, like, and it's like, man, those are real simple things that we all feel it. We've all been in these moments, and it's like, to Jason's point, it's hard. I struggle with letting my sense of humor come across when I'm alone. And I think it's a great roadmap of simple tips and tricks to just do that. Just make fun of the circumstance, I guess.
Yeah, now I have trouble getting my sense of humor across talking to someone. It's the opposite problem now.
Well, and part of that too, though, is the learning to do it on your own. Like, it's great to watch some of these channels that's, it's a couple of guys or a couple of gals or whatever they're doing, and they've got they can bounce things off of each other. And when you're a one-man show, like you're the one telling the joke, you got to be the one to laugh at it yourself too, because sometimes if you're not picking yourself apart, they're going to do it for you in the comments, right?
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
One of the things that Grant and I always, have, I don't want to say have fun with, but one of the ways that we try to curb the harshness of trolls in the comments is either to be very, very kind to them back and say, thank you for watching. But how do you deal with it? Obviously, your channel's an exorbitant amount bigger than ours, but how do you deal with the trolls specifically? Do you deal with them? Do you ignore them, or
I mostly just ignore them. I look at comments for the first day that a video is posted, and then after that, I basically don't look at anything. I don't even look at the revenue number. Sometimes I look at the analytics so little.
Well, and that's one of those things too. As you scale up, as you grow, it's just almost humanly impossible. You'd have no time to 200.
We could phrase it like that, but really, I'm just lazy.
Well, I've heard other Uncle Tony's Garage, same thing. He's like, after the first hour after the video is posted, he's like, I mean, I would just be there like for another day and a half, just answering comments. And at some point, you got to draw the line. So no, I totally. It's also refreshing to know, like, I'm all about freedom of speech and everything, but I still, if YouTube's gonna give me the little X button on someone's comment and it's an option I get to exercise, like there's something refreshing about that sometimes too. It's like, you know what, I'm not in the mood today. Deleted.
Yeah, my favorite is hide user from this channel, so they can keep commenting all they want, but no one will see it and they'll have no idea.
I want to take a moment to just to make sure that everybody knows, again, this is new to me. It's new to Grant, that we want to make sure you guys also understand that the CarrGuy SixFan show is powered by the Get Out and Drive podcast. We want to make sure you guys know that the podcast generally throws out new episodes every Sunday or every other Sunday. So make sure, if you're not following Get Out and Drive podcast on your favorite podcasting, whatever it is, go over there and follow that. You can catch me and John Custom Car Nerd Meyer for more automotive talk and great interviews with some other great people.
It's filmed in a car, right? While you're driving?
Almost. No, not really. Great idea, though. I think it should be.
A real solid internet connection.
Yeah, right. Let's go back for a second to your inventory. I know there's a lot of guys out there who may follow you and follow you faithfully, know exactly what you have. But for those who might be new to your channel, Aging Wheels, let us know some of the cars you've got in your inventory. Tell us a little bit about each of them.
Okay, I can start from the most boring. I've got a 2003 Dodge Durango that I bought 2 years ago for $500 from an alcoholic to blow up, and I have not done anything with it. I made a video called how to properly properly wash your car, where I stripped the paint off, but that's about all I've done with it. And occasionally I throw eggs at it, but it's just sitting in the driveway. I've got a 2006 F-150 that my grandpa bought new in 2006, and then a year later he had Parkinson's, so he lost the ability to drive, and that was my first car, and I still have it. It's got 115,000 miles on it now. I just last week sold, I had a 2005 Mercedes E500 wagon. Glorious thing, broke all the time, so I sold it, got rid of it, so it wouldn't be my problem anymore. I've got a 2013 Wego, which is a small run electric car that was built on the body of a Chinese car that was a Chinese knockoff of an original Smart 4.2. It has a dead battery pack, so it's just sitting over in the corner now. I daily drove that thing for quite a while. It's awful. And I've got a 2012 Coda. It is currently out of commission because it has a CV shaft that is clicking. Before that, it had all kinds of other things wrong with it, but that's the only thing that keeps me from driving it. I've got 2 other Codas. All 3 of these Codas I got for free from an ex-employee of the company, and all 3 of them were ex-prototype cars. One was the one that I drive was converted back to factory standard. The Coda is another small run EV. It was only sold in California. They only sold 117 cars before they went bankrupt. An electric car. It's got like 88 miles of range. It's got 220 pound-feet of torque. It's kind of zippy. It's still incredibly beige. It looks like a Kia Cephia. And anyway, the other two, they're still prototype cars. One was never even assigned a VIN. They were bought by a company that was building some bizarre drivetrain for conversion that uses a weaker electric motor and a CVT. So it has these two cars have an electric motor paired to a CVT. And to run all the hydraulics for this CVT, it's got two hydraulic pumps. And to power these hydraulic pumps, it takes the battery pack voltage, steps it down to 12 volts, and then back up to 48 volts. And there's a big box of electronics in the back just to drive these hydraulic pumps for the CVT that does not make sense in an electric car. So that's those two over in the corner there and pointing off screen. I've got a 1981 Trabant. It's a Trabant. It runs. I rebuilt the engine and gearbox. I've got a 99 Reliant Robin. It's as far as I know the only Mark III Reliant Robin in the country, and I drive it as much as I can. It's actually quite lovely to drive. Terrible, and loud, but it's lovely. I've got a in front of me. It's going to be up for sale in a couple of weeks. I've got a 1986 Wego that was converted and engine swapped to a Fiat 1.5 liter. It is horrifying to drive. It just wants to tear the front half of itself off. That was a mouse that just, yep, there it is. That's a mouse. We're going to ignore that. And I've got a school bus.
The mouse might be a first here on the CarrGuy SixFan show. So, Robert, that puts you in special. We'll remember that for time to come.
I wish it did. I didn't have a mouse problem.
It's wires. Nah, hey, I get it. I live. I believe we're neighbors. I live in Kansas, so.
Oh yeah, I'm in Missouri.
Yeah, well, you basically have a pronoun pronoun attached with go for about every car you own. We go, you go, I go, she goes.
Yeah, but Toyota makes an iGo, and I need one of those next.
Well, our friend King Eric, the greatest of all, he's always full of humor, and he's a mainstay here on the CarrGuy SixFan show. But he had asked, does Mr. Aging Wheels know about the other East German car, the Wartburg?
Yes, and I have seen one every year. The International Spy Museum in Washington, D.C. holds a Trabant parade, and the last time I was there, this was pre-COVID. There was a guy that brought his Wartburg there, and it was absolutely wonderful. But yeah, my plan is, and I don't know how I'm going to make this happen. Back in East Germany, when it was still a thing, people would sometimes take the engine out of a Wartburg and put it into a Trabant. They called it a Vabant. And the engine in a Wartburg is still a two-stroke engine, but it's a three-cylinder two-stroke that makes 50 horsepower, so double what the Trabant makes. So it would be somewhat of a sleeper. I would love to, at some point, get a Wartburg engine and put it in a Trabant and make a period correct hot rod out of it. It's a big job, especially since all of those parts would have to come from a country that doesn't exist anymore. That's a dream.
Well, one of the things that that always amazes me about any YouTuber that I stumble across is that at some point in time, that YouTuber had to make the conscious decision to pick up a camera, pick up their phone, and say, it's time.
Yeah.
When did you realize it was time to start making those videos and popping them up for the world to criticize?
It started in college. I just wanted to give it a try. I started out with one video that was fairly creative, and then the creativity fell by the wayside, and I started making boring videos. I only did like 4 of them, and then I stopped for about a year, and then I got a job that I hated, so I picked up on that again, trying to find a way out of this job, and then I ended up quitting that job and was unemployed for a month before I found the next job. And during that month, I thought, I'm going to try to make it. So I filmed a bunch of videos and then slowly put them out over time. They weren't very good, but it was a good shot. And then the next job I got, I liked. So I put a hold on the YouTube thing for quite a while until that job started to not be great. And then I picked back up on it again. Basically, hatred of jobs is what got me into YouTube full time. But starting out, it was just, I want to give this a shot.
Well, since you do have this vast collection of these almost one-off foreign cars, take us through just because we have street car culture in the chat from Australia. So take us through just like the general logistics, like, well, or first off, where do you usually find them? But if you have to like import them, like literally import them, bring them over on a ship, like just take us through what's the logistics look like for some of these cars.
The logistics have been really easy for me. I've never imported a car, first of all. When I decided I want to get a Trabant, it was as easy as going on eBay. There was a website, I think, that was called Trabants of America or something like that. And I emailed a guy there and asked him, hey, are there any for sale? And then one popped up on eBay and I bought it for $3,000. It was great timing. And almost everything else, everything that is in this shop right now. No. Okay, so the Trabant I got from eBay. The Wego I happened to find in my hometown of Mexico, Missouri. It was just sitting on the side of. They only made 100 of these, maybe even less than that. And there just happened to be one sitting on the side of the road in Mexico, Missouri, for sale. It was owned by a heating and cooling company, and they used it as their local in-town car to go and give estimates to people. The most bizarre thing. But everything else was because of YouTube connections. So the Reliant Robin, that was initially owned by a British guy that used it as a delivery car for his fish and chip shop. And then he sold it. That went out of business. So he sold it to, I don't know who. Anyway, it ended up in the hands of a guy that knew me and thought that I'd be interested in it. And he called me and said, do you want this car? Of course, I said yes. The 3 Codas, that came about from an email from a friend, or a fan rather, who said, hey, I'm going to send these to a junkyard. Do you want them instead? It's like, yeah, of course
Sure.
I do. Yeah, just connections with because of YouTube. It's amazing.
I think we all can relate to that sickness. Yeah, of course I do. I have no reason to, but yes, I want that.
Yeah. Well, and collecting things, you become the guy.
Right? Everything is Broken Garage says $3,000. That's a steal. Well, not a steal. That was cotton. So, do you have any prospects of future vehicles coming to the channel that you might be willing to share with us, or?
I'm thinking about. I just sold the Mercedes, and I'm about to sell the Wego. I'm thinking about using that money as a down payment on a new car. I know this is not typically my fare, but I'm considering getting a Polestar.
A what?
Exactly. A Polestar 2. It's Volvo's new premium electric sub brand.
Oh, I was thinking automobiles for strippers by strippers or something.
Exactly what it sounds like. Starting from a company that sounds like, well, it's Volvo.
Wow.
Well, it's okay.
Safe. Whoa. We're bringing this back in.
Yeah. Well, the other,
aside from that, used cars, I'm considering getting a second Trabant so I can do that Vabant thing that I mentioned earlier. And actually another Wego popped up for sale that I was considering getting, but I don't have any, as of right now, I don't have any plans to get something different.
Yeah, I think I don't know how old you are, Robert. I'm 36, but I suspect we're at least somewhat in range of the same age of each other. But okay. So I feel like I need to see Steve Urkel's BMW, or what was that thing that he
The
had?
Isetta? Yeah.
Yeah. I feel
Those
like
are
that.
insanely expensive
Are
for
they?
what they are. My mom has always wanted one of those, and I've always thought that I would like to get one for her one day, but I don't think that's going to happen because I don't want to spend $50,000 on a little egg, basically.
Well, it's a little egg that's got like a moped engine in it or some stupid
Yeah,
thing, but because
half
it's
a
made by
motorcycle.
BMW, everyone thinks they're worth 10 times. I mean, the car market today, I mean, COVID pricing, I guess. I don't know if you want to even use that term on here or not, but like the pricing on cars right now is so freaking ridiculous.
Yeah.
That something that was $1,500 or $2,500 2 years ago is now $7,000 or $8,000 just because I don't know why.
Yeah.
Barrett Jackson, Mecum auctions, all these things, you're starting to see things go through there for stupid money. And then you go and you check your local buy and sell on Facebook or Marketplace or whatever, and all of a sudden they think they've got the creme de la creme on this 70 something or other, whatever it is, for $25,000, and you got to be scratching your head. Like, do you find with the, I'm going to use the term exotic just because I want to use it, the exotic cars that you look for, you find the pricing on that changing as well?
Yes, it has gone up. Because normally my price range is under 10 grand, well under 10 grand. Have I paid over 10 grand for anything? I don't think I have. The Robin was 3,600. The Wego was technically free. The most expensive car that I have bought that isn't a new car is the Wego, and I paid 5,000 for that. So that sort of price range is not a possibility anymore. When I'm looking, it's like, actually, no, I take that back. It was 7,000 for the Mercedes. But anyway, that sort of price range is not doable anymore. If I'm looking for a cheap car, it's no longer 3,000 to 5,000. It's more like 5 to 10 or 10 to 15. Yeah, it has definitely changed. And the cars that used to be obscure that no one cared about are starting to go up in value too. I've been looking at getting an Alfa Romeo 75 for a while. It was called a Milano in the States. And well, first of all, I can't find any. They used to be available all the time for like $5,000 to $10,000, but now if you find one at all, then they're $15,000.
And you still got to do all the work to them.
Yeah,
100%. Right? And that's the thing. We're finding that, like, I'm a used car dealer here, and I don't know if you knew it, but I'm in Canada, so I'm on the East Coast.
Oh, really? Okay.
But that's what we're finding here too. Is that like if I wanted to go out and buy a Chevy Cruze, I've always said that the Chevy Cruze right now is one of the most popular selling or biggest selling vehicles for me. That 2 years ago I could buy one and sell it for $10,000. Today I'm paying $10,000 for that same car. Like the market just seems to have blown up, and it's completely ridiculous. I'm curious as if it's the same thing on your end with the odd cars that you primarily would get versus the more popular. Of course, more popular stuff is 10 times more ridiculous than anything else. But I'm just curious how it was where you're looking at some of those older cars.
I haven't been looking a lot lately, but that's one of the beauties about my specific interest in cars is that they're worthless to everybody. So I usually get pretty good deals on these things because no one wants one.
Well, I did pass up a 1981 AMC Spirit the other few weeks ago because it had too much rust for my liking. So if you're interested, I'm close to the Kansas City area, so not too terribly far for you. But we're going to open it up to the chat for questions, and I know we already have one in there, and we'll get to that here in a second. But before we do, Robert, much like how a lot of your cars have been from fans reaching out and things, Everything's Broken Garage in the chat is mentioning he does have a contact in Germany and has already been talking to him about a Wartburg engine for you. So what's the best way for someone like Everything's Broken Garage to reach out and contact you and maybe exchange more details? And
email. My email is just agingwheels@gmail.com. That's the best way to reach out to me. You could try to reach out to me on Instagram, but I'll never see it.
All right, I'll type that in the chat here real
Yeah,
fast.
we know.
That's me on Instagram.
If you go check your Instagram DMs, you'll see at least 2 messages there from me.
I
From
don't
like-
even have
like-
Instagram on my phone anymore.
Like 3 years ago. No, I'm kidding. It wasn't that
Oh.
long. No. Yeah, one of the things that we do like to do is we do like to open up the chat for questions for our guests, so we will do that. Gary Mathis is asking, what is the autograph piece of debris hanging on the wall? It looks like a dashboard of something old.
Yeah. It's a dashboard from a Rolls-Royce Silver Shadow. It was from when the crew from Car Trek came and filled in my shop. The that fell out of the Rolls-Royce, and I ended up taking. What did I take? So there were 4 cars, and they all sold to a junkyard. So I ended up. Oh, that's what it was. They found a 3-car hauler to take 3 of these cars, but I volunteered to take the 4th one. I don't remember where I was going with that, but yeah, it's the dashboard of a Rolls Royce that was used on the Car Trek filming.
Well, I don't know that anybody else has necessarily put a question in the chat yet, but I guess, Robert, another thing we like to always cover here on the CarrGuy SixFan show is because most of the fans are other creators in our niche, and we're always trying to, figure out how to grow, how to make the next step. So as you reflect back on your YouTube career, what are some of the, either a lesson learned, maybe wished I would have known this sooner, or something right now that's really helping you out? What kind of advice would you give to someone starting up a YouTube channel here in 2022?
The same advice I always give is, if you're going to do something, make sure you enjoy it. I put fun first over money. If I'm not going to enjoy something, there's a pretty strong chance that I'm not going to do it. Sometimes there's sponsorship obligations, so I have to come up with a video for that. But most of the time, I try to put fun first and work on things that I'm interested in and do things that I'm interested in. One of the best decisions I made for myself was starting a second channel. So I don't know if either of you knew this, but I have a second channel called Dunn that's woodworking. Because a while back, I started running out of ideas for content on aging wheels, but I was getting into woodworking on the side, and I thought, well, I can just make this into another channel. And the normal advice would be, well, don't turn everything, all of your hobbies into a job, then you won't have any hobbies. But it worked out pretty well for me. I could still do woodworking on the side and not make it a video, but if I'm starving for content or ideas on aging wheels, now I have an outlet.
So would that be the channel right there?
That is the channel.
All right, perfect. Well, you just gained another subscriber.
I just passed 100,000 on that channel.
You did, yeah, 102. And you've only got, I shouldn't say only, because I don't want to make light of YouTubers making videos, because those who may not do it don't know what's involved in making videos. I say only. You've got 32 videos on that channel, so that's pretty good to have hit 100,000. And it's great also that you can almost cross promote 2 different channels when you've got one that's kind of your mainstay, and then a second one that you're kind of working away at. You can also kind of say, guys, if you want to see something a little bit different, head over here, because I'm doing the same stupid shit over here. If you want to see that too. Yeah. And we're just struggling along here on the single channel stage for the 2 of us, I guess, and trying to make things happen. But by the way, congratulations on the 100,000 subscriber on that channel.
Thank you. I'm currently working on another video for that channel, but I haven't had one out for several months. I think November was the last video I put out, maybe December.
So we do have a question there from Everything is Broken Garage asking, what are the guys like from Car Trek? Is Tyler really as manic as he seems?
Oh, I'm glad you specifically asked about Tyler, because he is nothing like he is on video. We thought he was sick or something, because he's either on or he's off. When he's on camera, he's what he's like on camera, but when he's off camera, he's almost asleep. It's totally different.
Too much energy sometimes, when when you're on, like you said, when you're on, you're on.
Yeah.
I do want to just kind of go back just ever so slightly to YouTube again and talk a little bit about, was there a pivotal point in your YouTube career that said, obviously my channel is growing. Maybe I made this change, or I've made this decision to do something. Was there a pivotal time that all of a sudden, boom, I made a good video, or something I did that made it go up, made it grow?
No, there was none of that for me. I kept expecting that. The closest I came is, I remember there was a random surge in subscribers when I was at like 2,000 subscribers. It started going up all of a sudden, and then I hit 10,000 and I was elated. But that was the only anything that resembled a pivotal point. Me deciding to quit my job was just, I want to try to make this work. I have money in savings. I'm going to live off of it for a while and see if I can make this work. There was no clear sign that this is going to work. I just had to try.
So you are doing YouTube right now full time?
Yeah, I have been for 3 years, actually.
Oh, good for you.
Nice, very nice. Oh, we had another question come in regarding the clutch over your left shoulder. Where did it come from?
That is from the Trabant. That's why it's, smaller than my hand.
Oh my God. I didn't realize it was that small.
I didn't either. Like that, we don't get the depth perception, but yep.
Either you've got King Kong hands.
Bearing. It has a graphite throwout bushing. It is so lightweight.
Wow, I was going to say, either you have a King Kong sized hand, or that is a nickel sized clutch on that car.
It is a nickel sized clutch.
That's probably small for some of the things that rather be welding or grind hard plumbing company would be building. Like that clutch is probably too small for their builds.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the things that you aspire to do? I mean, obviously, we've seen the bus, we've seen all the weird vehicles, we've seen. Shoot, I think you even built a camper shell for your grandpa's truck and then tore it apart. But what are some of the things that you aspire to do as part of your channel? Like, do you have a specific goal or an aspiration to say, I want to do this. I want to reach that goal to be able to do this or whatever. What are some of those goals that you have for your channel?
Yeah, I already mentioned the Valmont project that I want to do. The main thing holding me back from that, aside from procrastination, that's a pretty big one, is sourcing parts. I've got the Wego sitting over in the corner. It's got a dead battery pack, and I've got the two Kodas that are prototype cars. They have good battery packs, so I want to take the cells out of that and reconfigure the battery pack and the Wego to make that drive again. I've got some spare electric motors from other Kodas. I don't know if I can make this happen, but I would like to dive into making the pickup a hybrid. I have thought about this on occasion. I'd like to, it's a 4-wheel drive pickup. I'd like to take out the transfer case and hook up an electric motor. I've got a UQM 100 kilowatt motor. Hook it up to the front differential and then work on. I used to be a software engineer, so it wouldn't be that big of a stretch to code up the integration for that. There's a company I'm getting way off topic now. There's a company in Cape Girardeau, Missouri that dealt a lot with the Kodas after they went out of business, and they developed they called it the General Electric Vehicle Control Unit, GEVCU, that they sell that's Arduino based, that can control the motor controller and the motor out of a Koda. So I'd like to get one of those, pair it with the spare motor and controller that I have, and turn my pickup into a hybrid and have all the fun with integrating it with the throttle and calibrating the regen and all that stuff. It'd be a big project with very little game, but it sounds like a fun idea to me. And at one point I thought I wanted to make the bus a hybrid, but I'm probably going to have to not do that because of money. That would be a very expensive project.
Well, whether or not you actually do the hybrid truck project, I mean, it would definitely be a standout project for sure on YouTube. I mean, I think
100%. Yeah,
no doubt. We did get another question, and I think we'll take the last question from the chat, and then Jason will do the kind of normal wrap up. We'll kind of start talking upcoming content and things like that. But Everything's Broken Garage is asking again, and do you make your own premix for the Trabant, or do you buy pre-made?
I pre-mix it. So what I used to do was carry around a 5-gallon jerry can in the back, and then the oil jug, and then mix it in the trunk, and then pour it into the fuel tank. But what I've started doing is just putting fuel directly from the gas pump into the gas tank, and then seeing how much it measured out, and then take my little oil measurement thing, dump it into the gas tank, and shake the entire car. That makes for a better spectacle.
Yeah, I'd like to see a video on you mixing that.
Well, it looks ridiculous. Some weirdo shaking their car at a gas pump. So I'm sure there's a video out there somewhere.
Hey, no, how you doing? Yeah.
That'd be a good YouTube short, because I know, Robert, you're kind of like, and we all go through this. We all have our seasons, you might say. Like sometimes, like, you know what, I gotta step away from YouTube for a while. But maybe something like that, mixing the gas and turbine could be a good YouTube short or something.
You know what? You're right. That's a good idea. I'm gonna have to do it. I need to start doing YouTube shorts. I always forget about them.
And you heard it here.
Yes.
Just saying.
I'll make a TikTok too.
Yeah, right. So we are getting close to wrapping up the show tonight. But before we do that, we do like to go around the horn and talk a little bit about some of the upcoming videos that we know are coming to the channel. So, Robert, is there something that you can share with us that is coming up on Aging Wheels that some of our guests might want to tune into?
Yeah, a couple of simple things. I'm going to detail the Robin again because it turned out so well in the Trabant. I'm going to do it again with the Robin, and I even got a sponsor on board for that. I'm going to keep working on the bus project. The boring stuff is I need to sheet metal the other side of the bus. Not going to be like the other side that I did, unfortunately. So it's not going to be rinse and repeat. I'm also going to change the face of the bus. Some might see it as arbitrary or scope creep, but I want to make it look different. I'm going to change the headlights around, stuff like that. That'll probably be the next thing. I'm also working on a batch of merchandise that's related to that. That's going to be a video on the second channel. I took all of the windows out of the bus, and they're tempered, so I had to anneal them in a kiln first, but then I cut them all up, and I bought a laser engraver, big fancy one, and I'm turning them into like 400 pieces of custom engraved plaques. So those will be for sale when that next part of the bus project comes out. I've got the Coda coming up. It has been out of commission for far too long, so I want to try to fix all the things that are wrong with it, even the little things like the rear window's not rolling up anymore. After that, I've got a road trip coming up. I'm taking a road trip with Alec from Technology Connections, and he just bought a Hyundai Ioniq 5. So we're going to do a trip in an EV from Chicago-ish to the middle of Florida, and that'll be a video. He'll have a video about that too. And then after that, it's just big picture plans.
That's awesome. So Jason Rock has just wanted to make sure that you knew that he subscribed to your page and that he's going to be watching some of your videos tonight. Grant, you've got some pretty good content, as far as I know, coming your way. Tell us a little bit about what to expect on Straight SixFan in the coming future.
Yeah, well, we kind of, I'm doing a upload every other week now. So last week I'd mentioned would probably be the unveiling of the next project car. However, that's probably not going to happen just because it's spent a little more time at the transmission shop than I thought it was probably going to. So I want the time to edit that up and make it real nice. And so I'm not going to try to ramrod it in, especially with Easter coming up, because Wednesday would be the upload. So more off-road bumper build for the Toyota Tacoma, my daily driver, will be kind of what's queued up next. Jason, what's coming up on Old Car Guy?
Well, for the past month or so, or 2 months maybe, I've been telling you that I've been going to be putting out a video on the steering, or on the shifter, loose shifter on the Panther platform cars. You put it in reverse, and you got to figure around with it to get it to go into reverse or down into drive and play around with it. I told you that video is coming. I have filmed that. I filmed it a couple weeks ago. I just need to get it edited and get it put out. So that will be the next video, I promise, this time. That will be coming out. The Monaco has got the power steering, and what did we do to it last time we had it in the shop? I forget, but that video is coming out really quick. So make sure you stay tuned for more Monaco content. And And you guys saw yesterday's video that went live on the Toyota Sequoia. So that video is out. And that means because we're buying the Sequoia, we've got to sell a different project. So I've narrowed it down to one of the two Panther cars that we have, Grandma or Blackjack. So make sure you go watch that video and comment which one you think it's time to sell.
You're not going to do a buy one, get one free with Robert on Wego?
Yeah. Hey, so Robert, I got a deal for you. You don't have any American. You don't have enough American projects on your channel. So I've got two Panther cars, Grand Marquis, and maybe you might be interested in one of them. Like at least one of them's lifted 5 inches.
So this is a good time for this. I have a friend. Her name is Cheyenne, and she had a Mercury Marauder.
Oh, nice.
And had an accident in that car and ran into a tree and crushed her arm. So now she's missing her arm. So maybe I don't want one of those.
Okay. Well, I just thought I'd pitch it anyways. But yes, no, sorry.
I don't know though. A lifted Crown Victoria would do well in Mexico, Missouri. Just kind of knowing the area.
Probably not.
So.
But I did see what video was. Oh, your latest Mercedes wagon video. I did watch that. I did see that. You had mentioned that about your friend Cheyenne. I'm terribly sorry to hear that. It's no matter what the vehicle is, it's so hard to hear that somebody has suffered something like that. There is a GoFundMe for that. Maybe at some point we can reach into that video, Grant, and pop it down in the description of this video for anybody who's interesting to help out with some medical expenses for Cheyenne.
And help her afford a new car. She was actually initially more upset about the car than her arm.
Yeah. So I guess we've come to the point in the show where we're ready to say goodbye to Robert and close out the show. Robert, thank you so much for taking the time out to be a part of the CarrGuy SixFan show. Absolutely. I understand that we are just kind of small potatoes in the big world of YouTube, but to get someone with a couple 100,000 subscribers is pretty big to us, and we really appreciate you taking the time and coming here and answering some of our stupid questions.
Well, the thing that caught me off guard. There we go. Is that you booked me 4 months in advance. I almost forgot about this.
Well, and one of the things is like we do 18 weeks straight per season. So this is season 7 for us. So when we're booking those times, we got to start in like February or November and December to start booking times to get people in for that following season, so that we don't have any weeks where we've got nobody. So only once have we ever had a week where we didn't have our guests show up for us in the 7 seasons that we've been doing this. So again, thank you for us bugging you, us reminding you, you not answering emails or Instagram. That's fine, but we're okay with that. But thank you. Thanks for being here. We really appreciate the time that you spent with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Grant, anything you want to add before I close us out?
I mean, just aside from personally saying thanks as well, I mean, we really enjoyed the conversation, Robert. It was really fun to get to know. I regret that I just found out about your channel today, because I spent plenty of time, maybe not exactly in Mexico, Missouri, but my work took me to places like Fulton, Missouri, and area that general area. So maybe a collab will be in the works on down the road.
You can do a collab with my dad. He just bought renting a hangar. He just bought a Challenger sport plane. He's been spending all his time in Fulton there.
Beautiful Fulton, Missouri. Well,
famous for something, I'm sure.
Yeah. Actually, story goes, Winston Churchill practiced his big speech in Fulton, Missouri, ahead of the big speech. So there's a statue of him.
Oh wow!
On
the saying, Reese Witherspoon farted here once.
And as a Canadian, I don't even know where Fulton, Missouri is. But anyways, we will close out this episode. I want to thank everybody that's been in the chat for joining us tonight, because without the guys in the chat, we wouldn't be doing this show. So thank you for being here. make sure you hit that thumbs up. Make sure you share this video to all your friends, because we can't grow if you don't show everybody who we are. Get Out and Drive podcast happens. Make sure you hit us up on your favorite podcasting station, and we have lots of great guests coming out. We got a new video popping out on Sunday. So thank you guys for watching the Car Guy and SixFan show. It is a collaborative effort. Next week, it's over on my channel, Old Car Guy, and we've got our guest from VCore, Scott, who rebuilds wrecked vehicles, is going to be on the show. So make sure you tune into that. We'll have lots of great questions for him. Thanks so much. Stay focused on the windshield, not the rearview mirror, guys. We'll see you next week over on